And we are live. Well, welcome in everybody to another episode of Star Wars Sunday. And yes, it looks a little different. There's no Dan here, but Dan's on his way. Dan's running a little bit late. So instead of it being on Dan's channel tonight, it will be on my channel. But we're going to have a lot of fun as today we review episode 7, The Force Awakens. And we're going to have a really good time with it tonight. We're really glad everybody is here. Thanks for being here. And first and foremost, let me just say hello to our special guest tonight, the one, the only Darth Nerdiest, Nerderous, Charlie from the Dizney Nerd Herders. Charlie, welcome in, pal. I appreciate you coming in. I know we've kind of delayed this a couple times, so I definitely appreciate you being here.
Oh, no problem. Thanks for inviting me. I'm always happy to be live with you and being able to discuss things live. It's always more fun to discuss things with live people than it is just to go back and forth from the chats. It gives an extra,
Oh, yeah. I agree 100%. These are a lot of fun. We've really enjoyed them. Dan and I have been very meticulous to make sure that we do one every month leading up to, the Rise of Skywalker, which is coming out in less than a month. I mean, we're about a month, the 20th, I think it is. So we've been having a really good time with these, and we really get into them. We have a good time. We've had a lot of different special guests, so we're just really glad you can be here. But for those that don't know, and I don't know anybody that doesn't, but for anybody watching the replay or doesn't know about your channel, tell us a little bit about your channel and what you got coming up.
Well, we are a channel. We are based in Massachusetts. We do a lot of Disney World centered vlogs and live streams when we're down there. We absolutely love Disney World. We love pretty much everything Disney. And we have also, we bring our sons. My son is autistic. He also does comic books. So we read his comic books once he produces them. That's every once in a while. He also jumps online with us once in a while to share his favorite comic book characters and whatnot. He is currently working on, he's almost like this close to being done his next comic book. And then our daughter does theater and plays, and you'll see her once in a while on the videos. She's a natural. I wish she would do it more often, and Stacy's pretty much the editor in chief. So if you don't like the vlogs, send the emails to Stacy. And I guess I'm just the eye candy. That's why we're in so much trouble.
Well, we're glad you're here for sure. We really love your channel. Everybody, please subscribe if you haven't already subscribed to the Dizney Nerd Herders. If one of my mods could throw their link in the chat, I would appreciate it. Great content, great family. We're blessed to know you, and we're glad you're here. We're gonna have a lot of fun tonight. I hope you're ready.
Yeah. It's always a fun time with you guys.
Oh, yeah, we're going to have a good time for sure. And, of course, for those that don't know, Dan is on his way. He's running a little bit late. It was supposed to be on Dan's channel tonight, so we appreciate everybody's patience with this, but we're going to have a lot of fun. Let me say hi to a few people in the chat real fast. We've got Zachary Pollock is here, Brian Eisenhart, My Disney Park Memories, Alex Brunner, Melissa Gover, Dougie from Walter Grams is in the house, and that's everybody right now. And again, I know it's kind of last minute, so I just appreciate all of you being here very, very much. No, forewarning ahead of time. I think I sent out the link to Charlie 10 minutes ago, and I think I put it out on YouTube about 15 minutes before that. So we're going to have fun, though, for sure. So, again, we're talking The Force Awakens. And for those that aren't sure, this is the one that has been 20 years since the prequels, and it was kind of the movie that rejuvenated the Star Wars franchise, or so some think. And it is by far, and I'm sure you know this, Charlie, it's the highest grossing movie of all time. Domestic.
Really?
Domestic.
Okay.
Not worldwide. Worldwide, that's Avengers or Infinity War. But domestically, Star Wars The Force Awakens is #1 all time.
Would you like me to show the Blu-ray cover?
Yes, please.
It's not against the Facebook rules or anything, is it?
But no, yeah, that's
what I'm talking about.
Yeah, and that's what I use for a thumbnail too. Yeah.
Awesome. Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah,
sure.
sorry. Everyone looked forward to this movie so much. It was the first one after the gap after the sequels, after the prequels came out, right? So, yeah, I'm excited to review this movie.
Yeah, and it was. And Dougie might be right. Dougie says he thinks it was only 10 years. It might have been only 10 years, but I think it was longer than that because I thought the prequels were in the 90s. And of course, 2017, I think it was 2017 is when Force Awakens came out. But he might be right. I'm not really sure.
You mean space fights, right?
Yeah, space fights. For sure. But this movie had everybody really excited because we were finally getting back into the Star Wars universe. And what really, I know for me, and I want to ask you, leading up to the movie, what made me so exciting is because the original characters were coming back. We didn't have the original characters in the prequel. We didn't have Luke and Han and Leia. We didn't have any of them. And Lando and whoever else it might be. We knew that they were coming back for these next 3 movies, and we were really, really excited. What about you? When you heard about these, is that one of the things that excited you or no?
Definitely. I liked the original 3. There is a love for those movies that was way higher than all the other movies in my mind. The original 3 with the original, with Luke, Leia, and Han. Those are the ones that you associated with as a kid. We grew up with them.
Right.
They were. I don't want to get into a trashing session of everything outside of those 3, but those 3 were just so good. I have nothing but love for those 3 episodes, So it set the standard so high, which I think might have caused some of the slack that the prequels got, because you're comparing it against those. Hey, Dan, welcome.
Hey, what's up?
And there he is, Supreme Leader Dan.
I apologize for being late. I just got out of Frozen 2, so.
Oh my goodness, that's all right. No problem. Do you have a good time?
It was great. I really enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun.
Good. Well,
hello, everybody. Sorry, I'm late.
That's okay. We are talking episode 7, Force Awakens, and Dan, this is your show tonight. Even though it's on my channel, you're the lead guy tonight because I know this is your movie. So we're gonna let you kind of take over the reins. But I was asking Charlie about it, and for you, the hype leading up to this movie was so palpable. It was so exciting for tons of people. And it was for different reasons. Like for Charlie and I, it was about the old characters coming back. Because in the prequels, we didn't have the old characters. What was it that was exciting for you?
I think for me, it was more like the second coming in terms of Star Wars. Firstly, I just want to say a big hello to everybody. A special hello to Charlie. Welcome, my friend. It's so good to have you. And I'm so glad you're not wearing a Liverpool shirt today. So
I was laughing.
No, yeah, that's probably why you're not wearing one today. But it's great to have Charlie from the Dizney Nerd Herders here, a friend of the channel, friend of the community. So welcome to Star Wars Sunday.
I was thinking of you, though. I did consciously change my name from Darth Theonicius. Right? Just in respect for you, sir. So let's not twist the knife on Dan anymore. Come on. Put the hat away.
We'll put it away and never speak of it again. No, I was very much looking forward to this movie because I grew up 90s, and I saw the prequels in the movie theater, but I never saw obviously the originals in the movie theater. And growing up, I kind of liked the prequels as a child, but then as soon as I got older and older, I was like, these are bad. Like, I did not enjoy them. So when I remember seeing that first trailer of The Force Awakens, and I'm not even kidding you, I cried. I'm not even kidding you. When Han says, Chewie, we're home, in that final bit of the trailer, I was like, this is what Star Wars is meant to be. We are going to have something that is like the originals and not too far-fetched like the prequels. So I was so excited. I was happy we get the Falcon. Like, even just that first scene where you see the camera pan and you see the broken Star Destroyer in the desert. I'm like, yes, this is exactly what I want. I don't want to see these Gungans running around doing things on these funny looking horses. I want what Star Wars is.
I agree.
So
I agree. 100%.
I was really excited.
Yeah, I was too. I agree with you 100%. I think that was one of the things that everybody was excited about, is the fact that we were getting the original characters were coming back into these movies, and I think it was something that we were really, really excited about. But Dan, like we always do, I'll let you take the lead on this one, but we're going to break it down into 3 different kind of sections, right? First act, second act, third act?
Yeah, we could break it down. We can do just take it sort of bit by bit, because obviously there's so much that goes on in each of the acts that we just have to see what the characters are doing, see what everything is doing, and then we'll do positives, negatives, because there's going to be not so much a rant from me. I feel like I'm going to get a lot of rants from, this guy.
Well, and we're going to get to that. I think what I'll do is I'll save what I want to specifically say about the movie as a whole for the end. But I want to talk about the movie. And let's talk about that first act. And Charlie, we'll start with you. The first act, of course, when we start the movie, we're on Batuu. Now, we've never, I think it's Batuu, isn't it? Or where is she?
Yep.
Yeah,
she's on Batuu. She's on Batuu.
We get to meet Rey on Batuu. We don't know who she is. We don't know what she's about, but she's on Batuu. We also get to meet Kylo Ren. I guess he's also on Batuu. When he's there and he comes down to the ship to the old man to try to find out where Luke Skywalker is. So that whole part there, when we first meet Rey, starting to learn about her origins, and Kylo Ren, before we even get to Finn, what do you guys think about that first section of the movie right there? Charlie, what about you?
Well, the first scene was really, really cool. It starts with, I'm going to forget everyone's name now. The hot pilot there.
Poe Dameron.
Poe with the old guy, right? They're mysteriously giving him the little key that's going to have the secret map, right? And you're wondering, who's this old guy? Should we know who this old guy is? I'm thinking, is it, my first thoughts were, did somehow with the thing that he said to Poe Dameron, to him, to the rest of us, to me, we consider her royalty when he mentions Princess Leia, right?
Yep.
Immediately I went to is, did Bail Organa somehow survive the Alderaan blow-up, Which obviously it wasn't true, but
no.
My thoughts went there, and I was like, this is kind of weird. Who's this old guy? We should know this old guy. Should we know this old guy? So that was kind of caught my. It started me wondering probably for the next 10 minutes of the movie, so, which is irritating because then
what happened? Yeah,
you start missing out on the movie. But then they introduce, this total. Well, can we say badass on the stream?
Hey, it's not my stream, and he's not here to complain.
You have Kylo, and you're introducing Finn, right? You have Kylo who stops this laser bolt in midair, and he's holding it there while he's having this conversation, like it's nothing.
Jakku, that's it.
Yeah, Jakku.
There was an awesome scene. You have the entrance of the really, really bad guy. It makes it look probably that's the most formidable he looks throughout the entire series.
Yeah.
With Kylo Ren, it's all downhill from there probably in regards to force, but I thought that was a really, really cool scene. And obviously when you get into the parts with Rey, where you're introduced to a familiar scene with a desert planet, how they started off A New Hope, they started off on the desert with Luke, right? So I think it was, there's a lot of familiarities, I think, between 7 and 4.
Which I think is going to be the theme of this movie. And I think that's kind of what JJ was kind of going for. Almost something like an homage to, episode 4. There was some things, which we will talk about during the stream, that, I feel was done right to honor episode 4, but then there was stuff like they should not have done that because we've seen it. We didn't need anything, that reminiscent of episode 4. So,
But after the prequels, though, some would say maybe it was needed.
Yeah, here's the thing. This before we get started with the movie, I just want to put it out there. I feel like it's almost impossible now to please everybody in terms of a Star Wars fan, because take the originals. Everybody, loves the originals. That's what this all started with. Then you have the prequels because everyone wanted something, to explore new things, the new worlds and new planets. So it's something really not like the original Star Wars. And then with the sequel, I call these the sequels we're in now.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's too much like Star Wars. And I think people, for me, I love the sequels. Whereas, Walt, you aren't as much of a fan of these sequels. I think what is so interesting about Star Wars right now in this current day is that people love different areas of this franchise. And it's come to a point where it's big enough for people to have their own kind of mini fandoms within a big fandom, if that makes sense.
It makes sense.
So
I find myself seeing the movie in pieces more often, whereas you take the one movie, you say, I really, 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 really like these parts of it. I really can't stand this part of it, or I really can't stand this storyline of it. But it's within the same movie. As a general grade, they're all positive, but there's some stuff that it's really, really dividing.
Yep.
Some parts I really, really love, some parts I can't stand.
Right.
It's like with Attack of the Clones. That's probably in my book, it's the most widespread thing that I had of these movies.
It's just terrible.
Let me say hi to Pam's fam is in the house, Sim Gear's in the house, and Rhiannon's in the house. Good to see everybody. Oh, and Anthony Manzano, welcome in.
Welcome in.
Going well. So, Dan, what about you? The first act, we start to meet these characters for the first time. I'll get into mine at the end, but what do you think about meeting these characters for the first time?
For me, Kylo, is the best part of this trilogy. I think he's a very interesting character. Right off the bat, we learn a lot about him in this movie. And even before we get to the nitty-gritty stuff about him, just his presence alone reminded me a lot of Vader. It reminded me of that sort of dark Sith kind of aspect, but that has been changed a little through time. You can tell he's a bit unhinged. Just look at his lightsaber. His lightsaber reflects him, that he's kind of unbalanced. Like his lightsaber's all crinkly. It's not, when you see a lightsaber, it's all smooth. His is not smooth. It's unbalanced, like his personality, which I think is fantastic.
Chaos.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And meeting Poe, I think Poe is in this movie, he's very interesting, I feel. He doesn't get a lot of screen time in this movie, but I do feel like I think Oscar Isaac is a very good actor. I enjoy his acting. But there are things that I feel like we could have seen more from him, and they kind of didn't really know where to go with him after what happened in the first act. But in terms of that first scene, on Jakku in that kind of campground, I think it's interesting. I think it's a good setup. We get to see what a real stormtrooper battalion acts like. Like we actually get orders. Like I feel like this is the first time stormtroopers actually get a character rather than just bumbling idiots falling over like in A New Hope.
Yeah, that's definitely on purpose.
Which I think is great because we actually see underneath the helmet of a stormtrooper that they're actually a working battalion and a working legion. Like it's kind of like you're seeing the underbelly of the First Order, which I think is great. It gives those characters more meaningful gives them more meaning. It gives them a character, which I think is good.
What's up, Steve? Steve's World's here. Good to
what's
see
up, Steve? Dude, I've been playing that game. If you watched Zip stream, it started this new game, Disney game with cards. It's cool. But yeah, I enjoyed the first act. I did. And then are we talking about the escape from the Star Destroyer?
Yes, ultimately. Well, we're going to get there. Yeah, let me just say this. For me, the initial introduction of all four of the characters, I'm fine with. I like the introduction of Rey. I like where they go with her character. You know, there's a lot of mystery behind who she is, what she's about. Obviously, she longs to leave where she is, but she's afraid to because she thinks somebody's coming back for her. Kylo definitely comes off very menacing and strong as a first act for him. Just like Charlie said, I mean, he's able to stop that blaster mid-flight to hit him.
So cool.
That's not easy to do. You have to be powerful to do something like that.
Yeah.
He comes across very powerful at first. I agree with Charlie. I think that may be his high point, in my opinion. but it's a good start. You're like, whoa, this guy's he's a pretty bad dude. Poe Dameron, same thing, very smart. Obviously, he reminds me a lot of Han Solo in a lot of ways with how he is. He's very cavalier. He's a great fighter. And then Finn is the one for me that I kind of have a little bit of a continuity issue with. Are stormtroopers no longer clones?
Nope.
I'm assuming they're not clones anymore, correct? Because the clones that we have from back in the prequels, and I'm assuming the stormtroopers we have in the originals, are from the clones. And all the clones they're not African American. They're not. They were. What's the one guy that plays? Anybody see Aquaman?
Yeah.
The dad in Aquaman is the clone. He's the clone. So they're all supposed to look like him.
I think that's the clone. Right? I think that's the clones, though. But I think during the time of the Empire started recruiting people from all around the galaxy.
Okay,
that's why the Empire had loads of settlements around.
Gotcha.
Because they started recruiting like loads and loads of people. So
perfect.
I think the clones all died out, and only a few survived.
I lost continuity at first, and I'm like, wait a minute, I didn't think. Yeah. I thought clones were such and such. But if that's the case, it makes perfect sense, and I agree. But I wasn't sure if it was Charlie or you, Dan, that said it. I like the fact that we're putting some sort of character base into a stormtrooper for the first time. We're finally getting to see what's underneath the helmet, what they're like, or what they could be like. Yeah. I think his character. I don't even want to talk about Last Jedi when it comes to Finn.
Well, we will.
We will. But his character could have been a really compelling character. Yeah. I loved him in Force Awakens a lot. And I love the introduction of him.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah. So from there, I mean, yeah, when we talk about the escape, they're down on the planet, they capture Poe, they bring him up to the Star Destroyer, and then there's the escape. And that's when Finn finally realizes, who he is or what he doesn't want to be, and he gets inadvertently to meet up with Poe Dameron, and they work together to get back off the Star Destroyer. That's a really cool scene. I actually like that scene. Charlie, I want to know about what you think about that whole escape from the Star Destroyer and how the two of them work together. What do you think of that part?
My initial read on Poe Dameron was also like what you just said. I thought they were trying to emulate Han Solo. They're trying to duplicate that character, which he totally has the look, the leather jacket, and it's really like he's a good-looking guy, and so I just thought he was lacking a little bit in charisma. He's not Harrison Ford. He's not Han Solo. So and I thought that was pretty unfair for them to put him as an actor trying to fill Han Solo's shoes. That's what I thought, anyways.
Yeah.
In regards to Finn, it had me thinking too when that one of his fellow stormtroopers gets shot, right, and he puts the blood mark on his helmet.
Yeah.
So it's like, did Finn know that guy? Were they friends? Did they?
Yeah.
And
it gives it depth, doesn't it? It gives character depth, and
it makes you start wondering. Okay, maybe these guys were beer buddies back on the whatever. But,
well, it's something they never really explore because you're right. Why does he care? I thought these were just stormtroopers. They're supposed
to be brainwashed, right?
Yeah, I mean, maybe he's one of the ones, because they never really touch on that. Was he supposed to be brainwashed? And
Plasma says, I'm taking him back for reconditioning. Do you remember that when he takes off his helmet? So that really kind of gives you like
reconditioning is.
Yeah, so we don't know, obviously, but I feel like we get some sort of back kind of ideas of what the First Order does to its troops. And there could be some sort of brainwash sort of aspect to it, which is interesting.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I wish it was something they had touched on a little bit.
Yes.
Explain that, because if you're going to talk about stormtroopers, other than them just being sidekicks that are there to be shot at and shoot at people, if you're going to go into stormtroopers and what's underneath the helmet, then you've got to give me depth to the character.
Yeah.
And his history. They don't ever really do that.
And another thing that had me thinking was there should have been a lot more stormtroopers like Finn that were questioning what the heck they were doing. Just blowing people away left and right without, I don't know, I would have thought there would be more. And one thing that really bugged me is wherever Finn was, in the stormtrooper outfit, even when he wasn't marked with blood, how'd they know it was Finn? How did they know it was stormtrooper blah, blah? It's not like they have a number on their helmet. Or a name badge, right?
Maybe maybe it wasn't so much the guy who was dying was looking for Finn. I think it was just more Finn realizing that this is not right, or this was not for him.
Yeah, I'm talking about him getting like Phasma knows exactly what number he is, what stormtrooper he was. Maybe he has some readout in her helmet like Iron Man.
Maybe.
Could be.
But
I guess. I mean, I get. You're right. I mean, how do they know that? But real quick in the comments, I want to touch on what Anthony's saying. He says, "Dan, what's your prediction for the lineage for Rey?" Mine is that it's Mace Windu and the female bounty hunter from The Mandalorian. Well, we're not going to touch on that because there are more movies we need to talk about, and we'll touch on Rey's lineage when we do our pre-show of Rise of Skywalker. If we want to touch on that at that point.
And also,
there yet.
And also, I cannot comment on anything with The Mandalorian because Disney Plus has not come out till March 31st, 2019 for the UK. So,
oh, are you serious?
2020.
Yeah. 2020.
Yeah.
Ouch.
Yeah, just hit me while I'm down. Why not? Why don't you? In terms of, I'll just quickly answer Anthony's question very, very shortly. I generally feel when was it who was it, Snoke or Kylo, who said that her parents were just some random people in Last Jedi? Kylo. We will get those answers in the next episode. I don't think they were nobody. They were far too important. It's such a key, I feel, storyline that was mentioned in The Force Awakens where she has that flashback. We will get something from it. And very quickly on Poe and Finn, I want to talk just very quickly. I really enjoyed the writing of this movie, and there was one very good line in that kind of small scene is when Poe and Finn jump into the TIE fighter, and Poe says, "I've always wanted to fly one of these things." Now, I don't know how many people in my movie theater was like, hell yes, I wanted to fly one of these TIE fighters. Who has never, ever, ever wanted to fly one of those TIE fighters? Like when you first see it in A New Hope, or when you see them in the space battles, they are such iconic, evil, like spaceships. And then when Poe says, like, it's almost like the audience character, like, I've always wanted to fly one of these things. It's so cool. And I think the writing in this movie is not a lot of people pick up the writing in this film. And I think it is good. So I enjoyed this.
TIE Fighters never did much for me.
No?
What'd you say, Charlie?
I said the TIE Fighters never did much for me. No,
really?
I was always an X-Wing guy. You give me 100 times, I would pick 100% of the time the X-Wing. Give me the X-Wing. TIE Fighters, they have like these walls. What are they? Come on. They're like highway dividers.
I have like old sketchbooks that I used to have when I was a child, and I used to keep drawing TIE Fighters.
Darth Vader's one was pretty cool.
The circular ones,
yeah,
the interceptors, the
Mm-hmm.
I love them. I thought they and there was a great game on the Nintendo GameCube called Star Wars Rogue Leader. Yeah, one of those. There was a great game called Star Wars Rogue Leader where it had every single ship from the original trilogy. And I think it had the Naboo Starfighter as well.
Nice.
And you got to fly them, and every single time I would choose the Empire, and it would be TIE fighters all the time. All the time. So
I'm going with an X-Wing. I'm like Charlie. I like TIE fighters, don't get me wrong, but I'm an X-Wing guy first. Probably because I'm a good guy. I like the good guys.
what are you trying to say there, Walt?
No, not at all.
You're evil. You're evil.
Well, I am called Supreme Leader Dan, so I mean.
There you go. Oh my god! And speaking of which, from there, once they land back on the planet, that's when Finn finally gets to meet Rey. As he's coming into town, he's dying of thirst to get some water, and
that was gross, by the way.
Yeah, I know. It's true. And of course, BB-8 remembers him, and he's like telling her he's a bad guy, and of course he's lying. And of course, that whole act there where they're running from the X-Wings on the planet, and he's like, why don't we use that ship? And she's like, no, that's a piece of junk. We're not using that one. And of course, at that time, you don't see the ship yet. She just talks about it, and then the other one gets blown up, and she's like, okay, we'll use that one. And then that's when we finally get to see it's the Millennium Falcon.
Sorry, just want to mention that scene is very much what I call really perfect filmmaking.
Mm-hmm.
Because let's take that scene. The camera, I'm going to go all directy kind of here. The camera doesn't stop focusing on Rey, Finn, and BB-8. The camera follows them running towards the camera with explosions coming behind them. If this was like a Michael Bay film, that would show the whole the whole marketplace going blown up to smithereens. I love the fact that the camera was following the characters. And all the attention was on them. All the focus was on them, and you actually felt like they were in danger. And then the camera pans to the Falcon, and you're like, that was such a great scene in terms of how that scene is directed. I thought it was just brilliant.
I agree 100%. Charlie, what about you? What about that scene in the scene where they're in the Millennium Falcon and they're fighting the TIE fighters to get away? What do you think of that whole scene there?
That's where I started having troubles with this movie. My first troubles with the movie. It's like, okay, so there's no proof that she's ever flown before, okay? And are we allowed to say kind of negative things, or are we trying to stay positive?
No, just say whatever you want. This is a review.
It's all about a review.
Okay, then. But yeah, I was disappointed with how they made all of a sudden she's able to fly the Millennium Falcon, which is, it's a highly modified freighter, right? By Han Solo himself, highly modified. It's got it where it counts. But she's able to fly something she's never flown. Okay, maybe she's done some speeder stuff on the desert floor or whatever. But you're trying to make me believe that this lady can outfly experienced trained TIE fighters in the desert and going through a giant what is it?
A Star Destroyer.
Star Destroyer. Without killing themselves and whatnot. It's just that I was like, okay. I remember watching that. I remember going, okay, this is.
May I counter?
Yes.
Biggs in episode 4 says Luke is the best starfighter in the Outer Rim territory. Right?
He set it up though, right? He set it so at least it gives some kind of a background that he's been in one before.
But how? Yeah, but he's never been in a fight going up against a Death Star, right?
Well,
and to go to the trench run where all these more experienced fighters, died and killed by TIE fighters, and this is the okay. I understand that Rey was given a lot more than her like training, or how do we know that she's a great? How do we know she's connected to the Force? How do we know that she's a great pilot? I mean, that's kind of a similar thing with something like Luke in terms of being a pilot. He was meant to be the best starfighter in the Outer Rim. Like, it's just,
Well,
I feel like
I'll chime in on that as well, because here's my thing. I get what Charlie's saying. And again, it's the two old guys against the young guy. But here's the thing. When you're sitting at the cantina, Han Solo says, "Well, who's going to fly it, kid? You?" He goes, "You bet I can. We don't have to listen to this." So he already is telling you he can pilot. Now, Big saying he's the best pilot, that's opinion. That doesn't mean it's true. He's just saying he's the best. He ain't proven nothing, so I get you there. And remember, Luke had help. So that's where I agree with Charlie. Luke almost got killed. Big saved him. I mean, Wedge saved him once, and some of the other guys saved him, and Han Solo saved him a second time. So it was more realistic. He wasn't as perfect as you think. He made mistakes, and he got people to help him. He had help. I agree with Charlie. They didn't give us any kind of background on her, and she was too good for someone that we've never seen fly before. So I get what he's saying. With the originals, yes, he was a good pilot, but he had help, and he made mistakes, and people saved him.
But do you think she is that good of a star pilot because of her connection to the Force?
Could be,
because she seems to have, compared to someone like Luke, who arguably was the greatest Jedi apart from probably Yoda. She picked up
number three,
probably after Mace Windu.
Oh, I think
Obi-Wan.
In my opinion, I don't know. About
but she seemed to be connected to the Force much quicker than Luke. So, do you think her skills, is the reason why she was such a good pilot? Like her Jedi reflexes, that's why she's able to pilot through a Star Destroyer and have that confidence to do that? I don't know. I think
it's her heritage.
Whatever it could be.
You won't let me talk about her heritage, but I think I know who she comes from. I know who her parents are. I've been told.
Who told you?
High secret stuff. J.J. Abrams told me. It's all in the blood, baby. It's all in the blood.
I have no doubt. Look, there's no way, shape, or form to kind of get into that a little bit. Yes, someone that we all know and love or hate is definitely going to be family members to Rey. There's no doubt about it. There's no way it's going to be two people that just left her that were drunk nobodies, as he put it, or whatever he said. No way. Absolutely not. I'm pretty sure we all are in agreement with that. Now, we can go different ways as to who it's going to be.
It's Salacious Crumb.
Let me just, you know that Star Wars has a history of twins. Let me just leave it there. There's a history of twins.
What, with Arnold Schwarzenegger and Danny DeVito?
Whoa, come on.
Actually, Charlie, I know you're not telling me that you think she's Kylo Ren's sister.
I am saying that. Boom. There it is, out there. It is out there.
Interesting.
They have
I was
to be
thinking
separated
something else. But...
Hey, Ray J. Ray J's here. Good to see you, Ray J.
They know Snoke is after them.
We can definitely get into that if you want to, but I don't see that. I mean, I would think that Carrie Fisher, when she's Princess Leia, would know.
She would have known. Yeah.
They had to hide them from Snoke. They had to.
Yeah, but when she had her right,
this
but
is
when
the
she
Luke
had her there on the Rebel base, why doesn't she come up there and say, "By the way, you're my daughter," and
she's protecting me. Oh, those robots! They had her so doped up on painkillers, she didn't know what you had triplets, bro.
I do think there's going to be some sort of relation, but not in a twin kind of way.
Okay.
I think it's going to be more sibling or,
it could be
that kind of thing.
Phantasmic Chronicles, welcome in. Good to see you. Ray J, welcome in. Good to see you. And Stacy Herder. Do you know who that is, Charlie?
Yeah, she's a real jerk.
And that's the show.
Now, if Charlie's stream accidentally cuts off, we know why.
If we go from 3 to 2, we know why.
Can we block her, Walt, please?
Nope.
We can put her on timeout. Timeout on the naughty step.
So you might have to make her a mod.
She's blue.
Oh, she is blue already. See?
Uh-oh. You're giving her power now.
Already. See? The couch it is, she says.
Oh dear.
Remember, Stacy Herder, with great power comes great responsibility. Sorry, wrong franchise. Go ahead.
Yeah.
All under the same umbrella, though, for sure.
Right, we've only got through the first 20 minutes.
Oh my gosh! So now they're
I've got
in
work
space.
in the morning.
They're in space. They've escaped, but they get caught. They get caught in space because they're having issues with the ship, because the ship kind of did get damaged a little bit. And who do they get caught by? But none other than, finally, we get some introduction of some old characters that we've been longing to see. And
the Jawas.
Yes. Not those guys.
Mos Eisley Cantina Band.
There you go. Oh my gosh, I love that band.
I want
We
them
get
on my
to
wedding.
see finally Han Solo back in action.
Yes.
And,
Can I just say, Chewie, we're home is one of the best lines in Star Wars. Because that line is not just like we're back at the Millennium Falcon, it's like the fans, we've come home to the horrific, prequels are behind us. We're back. We're here for the fans. And it's one of the best lines.
I agree.
Now, you guys see that in the theater, right? Did your guys' theater blow up at that point too? Like,
no, because UK crowds just sit politely and just don't.
Are you
do anything.
serious?
Yeah,
Oh.
like, not even kidding you. I've seen Avengers: Infinity War and on Endgame, both opening nights, and it was silent.
Oh, you got to fly over here for opening nights then. So let's do it.
All right,
I got to be honest with you, Dan. I think I prefer silence.
Thank you.
No way.
I don't want people blowing. I don't want people blowing up in the movie theaters. I want to hear what's happening. Keep quiet.
You want to feel the emotion too. It's not like they were drowning out the noise. It was a good theater.
Well, I don't need somebody else for me to feel the emotion. I mean, I'm going to feel it or I'm not. But I get what you're saying.
Nope.
I don't know. We had. Now we're off topic. Charlie, we did though. In our theater we had people that were clapping when he said that, and they were clapping just when he came on board before he even said it. People are like clapping, and it's true. I think it's because we just missed the characters more than anything else. But now we're talking about the whole scene on the Millennium Falcon, and this. I don't even know how to describe this part. He's transporting these monsters.
Rathtars.
I don't even know what they are. What are they?
Rathtars.
Right. Thank you.
They are like big tentacle monsters.
Yes.
Giant Squidwards.
Yes.
Yeah.
Do we know? I don't even know why. But anyway, so he's transporting these, and that's when he discovers the Millennium Falcon. And they kind of explain how he lost it, which is fine, which is cool. I'm glad they did that. And then we get into the whole thing with him running from the bad guys and the monsters getting out. Dan, we're going to start with you on this part. What do we think of this part of the movie, in your opinion? Do you like it? Not like it? What do you think?
Don't get me wrong. It's cool that Han is back, Chewie is back, and the introduction back on the Falcon was, I think, it was just right. But this whole thing on the scrapyard trading, whatever this spaceship is with these Rathtars, for me, this is the weakest part of the movie. It was so out of place. The Rathtars are horrific CGI. I think it just looked terrible. We didn't even get a close-up look of it. And you get the whole time you're getting Rey shouting, "Finn! Finn!" I'm just like, shut up. Just go. Come on. It's just a bit, I don't know. I just didn't enjoy it as much, that scene. I think it's just a bit meh. Nothing special.
Was it another opportunity to show that Rey knows her way around ships and electronics and engineering type of thing too, though? Because at some points, she's pulling fuses, even though they're the wrong fuses, but pulling fuses, trying to save, she saves Finn's butt, and it's Dougie's not in the chat anymore, but I'm wondering what he thought about one of the bad guys having a Scottish accent. But I don't know. But I thought it was
all great villains are Scottish, apparently.
Or was the Ganja Club?
Yeah.
Was one of the
Yes.
So I don't know. I
just
thought that
was-
six was kind of short, but
I think for me, I don't. I get what they're trying to do. They're trying to give us back what Han Solo was always like, the swindler, the guy that's got to make deals to get out of trouble. He's got people coming after him again. I get it. You know, more bounty hunters, more bad guys trying to get him, and he's got to finagle and swindle his way out of it. I just wanted a better connection with him. Like the whole Chewie, we're home. They could have gone a whole different way with it from there. They didn't necessarily have to do that. I get they want to give you the comedic effect of it, and that's kind of where Han Solo kind of went as a person. I mean, especially in Return of the Jedi, he was more comedic than he was anything else. And I felt like they were just trying to start up, leave off where they were from that one with him. I just wish they had gone a different way with it. But the scene's fine. It's funny. And you're right. We get more of what Rey can do in certain things like that. But again, I just think they could have done it a little bit better. That's my opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, once they do finally get away from the bad guys and they're able to escape, that's when, they start talking about Luke. Finally, we get into, do you know Luke Skywalker? And Han kind of explains it. That's not a myth. It's all true. The Sith, the Jedi, the dark side, all of it's true. And they finally realize that, hey, this is true.
it's all real, all of it.
That's kind of what he says. It's true, all of it. But because that's the overlying theme of this entire movie. We need to find Luke Skywalker. That's ultimately the overall theme of the movie. Where is Luke Skywalker? We got to get to him before the bad guys get to him. Because that's what Kylo Ren's looking for, and they're trying to find him first. So he explains that to him, and then that's when we go to meet Maz Kanata on her planet.
But is this where it starts creeping into your thought process that we are not going to see Luke Skywalker at all during this entire movie?
I'm going to get to that later because I do have a rant. Mine's a lengthy one, but I'm going to have a lot of explaining behind it.
That's what I think.
With this whole race to find Luke, right? It kind of just makes this whole movie completely pointless. And let me tell you why. Kylo was trained by Luke. So he knows where Luke lives. So why does he need a map?
Well, no, he doesn't know. No, Luke left. Nobody knows where he went. He went somewhere.
Where Luke lives at the end of this movie is the Jedi training place. The training a new Legion of Jedi. And
no, it's not. No, this is an island that he went to, and he built all that stuff while he was on the island.
I thought it was an old Jedi ancient temple.
Because that's the old Jedi ancient temple. Because that's where he burned all the books and stuff.
I don't think it's a temple that Kylo would know because that's not where he trained him.
I don't think it's where he trained him, though.
No, that's not where he trained him.
I think
that's why they didn't explain it very well because
they didn't. But that's how I took it too. That's not somewhere they've ever been.
Yeah, after Luke failed, then he went off into hiding, trying to look for guidance at the old Jedi place. I think different planet.
Right, just because.
This place is not somewhere that Kylo's ever been.
Right, just because with the flashbacks in Episode 8. It almost feels like Kylo was actually there. Mm-hmm. So that's why I was a bit confused.
Yeah, I think it's a different place where he was training them. Not the same place. Because you're right, then that makes no sense. He would know where to go.
Yeah.
Or at least where to look.
Mm.
Yeah. So I agree with that 100%. But I forgot where we were now. So we're at Maz Kanata.
Takodana, the planet.
Yes, right. And that's where we meet Maz Katana. And again, we go into something that's very similar to a Mos Eisley Cantina type place. And we get to meet Maz Katana, and she starts to help Ray out a little bit with her idea of her connection to the Force.
She reminds me of a dried up apricot.
Yeah, that too. But my main problem with that entire scene, as soon as he walks in, she yells out his name as loud as she could to the entire place filled with whatever, bounty hunters and bad people or whatever. I don't know. Why would she do that? She's
because they're
total
friends.
idiot. Everyone looks over.
And her boyfriend is Chewbacca. It's true.
Well, she could have
Well,
kept
I
it
don't
on
she's
think
down
family.
low.
literally. I think she's just saying, you know.
I know what they're trying to do in the movie was, but in real life, you think that they'd be okay. Let's go into this back room and have a little discussion. You know, they wouldn't out the person right out there to everyone to see, saying, "Okay, Han Solo's here. Call the order, call the resistance, call everybody." You have your little guys on the walkie-talkie saying,
Which I think was kind of cool because you can actually see like, oh, the fight actually between the First Order and the Resistance has come to a point where there's spies everywhere, even in these like remote planets with like tiny little temples run within a bar or whatever. I think it's quite clever how they did it.
Yeah.
everyone's on the payroll.
Right, everyone's on the payroll, which I think really shows that there is that sort of depth to both sides.
Well, it definitely shows the reach of the First Order.
Yeah. And especially with the First Order, because I think we jumped a bit with General Hux. This guy needs anger management therapy. This guy,
does.
like
Him?
like everybody will bow to the First Order. And I'm just like, dude, like
he's all talk. It's the other guy in the black that's doing the.
it's like they need marriage therapy, them two.
Yeah, it's
funny. But no, I think the Takodana, I think actually I actually quite enjoyed it. I think it does obviously reminisce of the Mos Eisley Cantina, but in a different kind of way. Mm-hmm. Because obviously they are paying that homage to what Star Wars should be. Mm-hmm. But that whole sort of scene is a setup for the third act. You have and sort of set up for the future. You know, it was about what Rey found underneath the bar, and also the sort of chase down with Kylo and Rey. Kylo chasing Rey and chasing her down and capturing her. Mm-hmm. That was kind of like the whole sort of setup. And this is where we get Poe back. This is where, you know, Finn actually steps up and is just like, I have a weapon. It's the lightsaber. And like, it's just, things start to move in a direction now. And I think this is the first part in the movie where I'm like, right, we're actually moving now. We're actually like, right, this is setting up what is going to be a good finale.
Right. And the overall theme, you're exactly right. You talk about General Hux and the First Order. Basically, they're looking for Luke Skywalker as well, but they're also looking for the rebellion, and they're trying to eliminate them. That's their competition. That's who's trying to, you know, destroy them as well. So as usual, they are looking for them, and they're doing everything they can to find them. And once again, they've created another super destroyer type planet, I guess this time, of something that can destroy galaxies, not just worlds, but galaxies, and it can destroy several worlds at once, as they show. So you're right, Dan. We didn't really touch on that, but that is the overlying theme, or the overall, what's the word I'm looking for? Their goal, of the First Order for sure.
I think first Death Star was great. Second Death Star, was it needed? Maybe, but this Star Killer base, it's just they even said it's another Death Star, and I'm just like, come on, like
did they not know about it? Again, everyone's on the payroll. The Resistance would have
known,
would have heard about it,
and I think they do know about it, but obviously they just didn't really mention anything about it. Like, but then they did the whole briefing. It was like, oh, it's another Death Star. I'm just like, this goes back to my point where you either pay homage to the originals, but don't take everything from the originals. I don't think they needed a super duper weapon that could destroy galaxies because we've already had that in 2 other movies. We don't need it. I would have rather them, just almost have just a war. They just fight on a battlefield like Scarif in Rogue One, just a different kind of Scarif battle instead.
Well, with any movie, there's a goal to the movie. I mean, whether it's Empire, whether it's New Hope, there's always an end goal at the end of the movie of what they're trying to do. And I think that they wanted that again with Force Awakens. They went in a direction that we're very familiar with.
Yeah.
So I get. I mean, look. There's no saying why change something that works. Maybe that's what he thought. I don't know. But Charlie, I want to ask you. Go ahead.
So I needed to know you guys' thoughts on. So when Rey goes downstairs underneath the bar, okay, she comes across the lightsaber, and all of a sudden she touches the lightsaber, and all of a sudden she gets these, Force visions.
Visions, yeah.
All of a sudden, Force visions are tied to a lightsaber. They never had that in any of the other movies before that. Why this one and why now? And
one word: heritage.
Yeah.
Yep.
Has her father leaving her a note or uncle?
Yep. I generally feel like there's some sort of connection.
Okay.
The question I have really is, how did Maz Kanata, the dried up apricot who looks like he should be in episode 1, have this lightsaber? How did she find this?
Well,
out of all places, the last time we saw that lightsaber wasn't even in episode 6. It was when Vader chopped off Luke's head in Cloud City.
Mm-hmm. It was an engagement present from Chewie.
Well, I guess my point is how she got it. To me, for me, is irrelevant. It doesn't matter how she got it. We know. We just know she has it. For me, it doesn't matter how she got it, but she had it, and its importance to Rey is what is important. Now, for me, the more I think about it, I think that whatever vision she was having down there is her fight between good and evil. That's how I see it. I think Rey is teetering here. I really do. And I think if we get into the other movies, she's, again, kind of like Luke, teetering of which way she's going to go. Because we had that same problem with Luke at the end of the second movie. We didn't know which way he was going to go after Empire. He could have gone bad, joined his father. He could have stayed good. We didn't know. I think that's where we're leaning with this as well. We'll find out. What do you think, Charlie? Is she?
I don't think that she was being tempted by the dark side at all at this point of that movie. I think that's not until I don't know if I've witnessed that yet. Even in the movie after this one, I don't think she's being tempted. She does have. I think there's a connection with Kylo, where she is. I might be getting no, it's not this movie. That was the next movie after this one, where she starts realizing more things about what happened.
Right.
At this point in this movie, I think she is like us. Well, we're good guys. We like to be on the good side. We pick the X-Wings, not the TIE fighters. I think she's everything good, and she's the she's like the young Luke Skywalker way before Empire Strikes Back, before he runs off and starts worrying about the dark side and starts getting tempted or whatever.
Okay.
So I think she's totally good at this point. I just still don't. I don't understand. Again, like you said, how did that old lady get the lightsaber? I do think it matters. I like to. I don't like to be bugged about things saying how the hell should you get it, and then think about that for the next 20 minutes instead of watching this stupid movie. But yeah, it's freaky how the thing was when she touched it. Why did that happen?
But see, I think her lineage is somewhere else. I think her lineage is with the Emperor, personally.
Oh, really?
I do. And I think that's the battle in here for her is his side or the good side. I think there's And I think that's part of where they started to go down when she touched that, because she touched a Jedi lightsaber. That's just my opinion, but we'll see.
Could it be a swerve?
We'll see how we go. But so now Kylo gets to this planet where Maz Kanata is, kind of wrecks the whole planet. He really kind of does a number on it, or at least this little town that they're in, and he gets Rey. He takes her. He wins. He does win the battle initially with her, and takes her to the Star Destroyer, his ship. And this is where it actually gets kind of interesting.
Takes her to his crib.
He does take her to his crib. And it actually, for the first time, they said some uncomfortable things in a Star Wars movie that I never thought they would say. But I won't even, where he says, where she's, well, I won't even get into it. But let's talk about that scene there where she is strapped down and he tries to extract the information from her. I think that's a powerful scene.
Yeah.
I think that's an important scene into the either strength of Rey, or maybe Kylo's not as strong as we think he is,
or both.
Or both.
But this puts back to what Snoke said about he hasn't finished his training. You know, he needs to come back and Snoke, who looks like he's 20 feet tall with this hologram, which I think was a bit. But we can skip.
He's probably 4 inches tall, right?
Right. He's just been projected large.
Hey,
but,
Master Yoda was about 4 inches tall. He was pretty bad.
Judge me by my size, do you, Charlie? I think there's kind of that imbalance. Rey progressing very much with the Force, and Kylo kind of still like his lightsaber is unbalanced. There's something that's not. He's not finished. So I don't know. I think that scene definitely shows, that these two are going to be at war with each other for these next 3 movies. Yep. So, and because Kylo did that Force thing with Poe, and it didn't work. Poe gave in because he's not strong. He's not strong with the Force.
I agree, Charlie.
Before he does that little face thing with Rey, right?
Yeah.
I wonder if she even knows she is Force sensitive, because in other movies you've seen kids, right, before they even join the Jedi Temple or whatever, they're pulling brooms over by using the Force. They're using little things here and there.
Yeah.
You don't see Rey doing that in any of her previous scenes, right? She's doing stuff the old-fashioned way. She's working for it. She's sliding down hills. She's not, she's reaching for stuff and grabbing it. She's not using any Force whatsoever. You wonder if Kylo was the one that actually made her realize, I have the Force. What's going on here?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think that's a good point. He may have been the one that finally, sometimes you got to be pushed into something. Pushed it out. I don't want to say not physically, but yeah, I mean, he may have been the one that awoken it. I mean, it is the Force Awakens, and maybe that's what awoken the Force in her. And you're right. I think it's different for everybody. Some see it sooner than others. Maybe she just hadn't seen it yet. Maybe he was the one that finally awoken that inside of her when he tried to take that information from her. I agree 100%. That's definitely a possibility. Dan, you agree?
Yeah, mostly agree. It's just for me a good setup to what the potential is going to be in this film.
Well, it definitely shows her strength.
Sure. More of we are focusing where she's going to go from here.
Right.
So I think the scene with if you've read about it with Daniel Craig is very good. Who's the stormtrooper?
Yeah.
If you didn't know, Daniel Craig, aka James Bond, was in Star Wars: Force Awakens. He played the stormtrooper, and she told him to drop his gun, and I thought that was a very sort of. She didn't get out of her chains herself. She got a stormtrooper to mind control. which I think is good. I think it's quite creative. So yeah, I thought it was a fun scene.
I think it's a great scene. It, again, starts to show her power of what she can do, and what I think that maybe she doesn't realize she has until just then. And she's like, you know what? Let's try this.
Yeah,
maybe it'll work, and it did. It worked. So I agree 100%. I think it's definitely the beginning of learning who she is for herself and what she can do. I agree. Yep. And then from there, of course, she's on. They go. Han Solo, Finn, go to try and rescue her, and of course Poe and the rest of the rebellion, just like a la A New Hope or Return of the Jedi, are going to try to destroy the Starbase Killer before it destroys everybody else. We've seen this act before, and it's a good act. Don't get me wrong; it's an act that works. The good guys trying to get it before time runs out, trying to win. So we've got two different storylines happening at this time, and that's kind of where we lead into the third act, where Han Solo, Chewie, and Finn are going to rescue her, and they got to get. That's the one difference I will say from A New Hope so much is they're trying to get her out before this place blows up, if they can even blow it up. So there's a lot of different moving parts. As we get into this final act, we're going to touch on some things that maybe we haven't even really discussed. When we talk about The Force Awakens, Kylo Ren is Han Solo and Princess Leia's son. It's that simple. For those that don't know, let's address the elephant in the room. He is their son, but he obviously has had a falling out with his parents, and we know where he is now. He's on the dark side, and that's when we get into this final act. There's a lot to this final act, and we're going to break it down. We'll get into the final act with Rey and Kylo in a minute, but I want to touch on the really big part before we get there.
I want to say something controversial.
Mm-hmm.
Kylo Ren is more of a compelling villain in this movie than Darth Vader was in Episode 4. And let me tell you why. Darth Vader, over time, has become one of the greatest villains of all time. There is no question about. Everybody knows, even if you're not a Star Wars fan, knows who Darth Vader is. But let's just take Episode 4 Darth Vader and Episode 7 Kylo Ren. In Episode 4 Darth Vader, what do we know about him? He's the leader of the Empire. He's not even the leader of the Empire. He's being, jobbed around by Tarkin, who's pretty much the villain of Episode 4. He's kills Obi-Wan Kenobi. He doesn't really tell you much about him. We don't really know who he is that much. We don't really know anything about him. It's only through the endless amount of movies that we've had, so much we know about him, that he's become the well-known villain that we know him. Episode 7, though, in Kylo Ren, we actually get a lot more character from him than we do Darth Vader from Episode 4. Now, they're two completely different. You can't compare them, but in terms of their characters... Well, but no, hold on. You got to let me finish. In terms of their characters and how the directors and the writers have shown both characters, there is more character in Kylo Ren because, one, we know he's a father. Second, we know he's conflicted with, is he part of the light side? Is he finished with his training with the dark side? We know that he has one job to do that was set out by Snoke. He's being controlled. I just feel that in terms of characterization, he is a way more compelling villain than Vader was in Episode 4. Just saying.
Charlie, would you like to touch on that?
I would say yes. There's definitely more. They gave him more character background and more to feel and more insight into Kylo Ren for sure. But I'm wondering if less was more. I was more intimidated by Darth Vader than Kylo Ren. I found Kylo Ren to be controversial, whiny than Darth Vader ever would have been. I think if Darth Vader would have met Kylo Ren, he would have Get the
But
heck
don't
out
forget,
of
this he's still like a young adult.
Yes,
He's still a
yeah,
child.
I
And
understand.
also, I also feel like a story is as only good as his villain. And if this was going to be a villain for 3 movies of the biggest franchise in the world, they needed a compelling villain that needed to be as good as Vader. We
Yeah.
do not want another Count Dooku or a General Grievous that don't have a lot of character that we need to cover 3 movies. Okay,
Exactly. And the last thing you wanted was another Darth Vader. You didn't want to repeat
you
of
don't
Darth
want
Vader.
another Darth Vader,
No, I
which is
understand.
why it was
I understand.
important to have that character to be completely, given a lot of character in the first movie. I think, like, if we weren't told that he was the son of Han Solo, he was just going to be this just random guy with no motivation, nothing to make you invested. This is why Kylo is my favorite character from the sequel trilogy.
Cool. Well, I'll say this. Touch on your Darth Vader, Kylo Ren thing. I think they're different types of villains. Okay?
Yeah.
Darth Vader's purpose in A New Hope is to be the muscle, the bad guy, the guy you're afraid of, the big bad in that respect. It's not about the compellingness of who he is, not even really even in the second movie until the very end of it when he says the big words. His compelling story happens in Return of the Jedi. The first 2 are to build him as this big bad, all-powerful Sith Lord who's incredibly mean, incredibly evil, and a villain who has no conscience and no heart. And the third movie breaks that down. So I get what you're saying. Kylo is more compelling. There's more layers to him, but it's on purpose with Darth Vader. They're not trying to get us there yet. They don't do that until we get to the end of Empire, that we start to see the layers of who Darth Vader really is. Up to this point, they've only fed him as being this big bad Sith Lord who's one of the leaders of the Empire. It was the smart muscle, so to speak. So I get what you're saying, but I think that the purpose and the direction and the directors had different purposes for the villains at those times.
Yeah.
Because to be honest with you, I think Darth Vader is the most compelling character out of all these movies. From when we know his story, where he began, where he ended up.
Don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. Absolutely. In terms of the compelling character from episode 4 through the original trilogy through the prequels, but I'm just pointing it out as just him in episode 4 and just Kylo in episode 7.
Yeah,
Vader has nowhere near enough character.
100%. It's just different. It is different. I'm just saying. I just think it's a different type of thing. But you're right. At this point, Kylo is a much more. There's layers to him.
Yeah.
Like an onion, like a parfait.
Yeah.
Only Charlie would throw out a Shrek reference.
So we finally get on the Starbase Killer. Han, Chewie, Finn, they're there. And they're going inside to try to find Rey. And of course, they lead inside. And they're also going to try to blow up the area where the reactor is so that they can get in again to make it easier for the rest of them to do what they need to do. And it's actually one of the funnier scenes of when they're outside and he asks them, "What did you do when you worked here?" And he goes, "I was in sanitation." He's like, "You're in sanitation?"
Again, back to good writing.
That is, and then Chewie says something, and he goes, "Oh, you're cold?" No kidding.
That's funny, yeah.
And the whole sort of funny running joke with Chewie's crossbow is hilarious. Yeah. Just like, oh, I need one of these.
Yeah,
it's true. But so let's get to the. I don't even know how to word this. This is probably one of the hardest parts of the movie for me. So we get inside. Han Solo gets inside. Chewie gets inside. Finn get inside. They separate, and they're setting the charges because they're going to blow this area up. And that's when Kylo Ren comes in to the room, and of course Han sees him. And Kylo starts to walk across the bridge, and Han stops him and calls to him, and they meet in the middle of the bridge. I don't know about you guys, and Charlie, we're going to start with you as our guest. How did you feel about this scene? Now, again, if you like it, you like it. If you don't, you don't. But tell me what you feel. First off, did you feel it coming? And what did you think of the scene?
Well, you knew they were going to meet. I thought, obviously, they were in the same place. You knew they were going to meet. I liked the scene. I thought it was pretty powerful. I thought, again, you're hoping that, well, the good guy in you, you're hoping that, okay, Kylo's going to change back and go back and leave with Han, and they're going to be happy family again. But that can't happen because there's still 2 more movies to come. So, in regards to the way it was done, I liked it. I actually thought it was pretty good. It was pretty well done. It's like he was very conflicted. There's some, I guess, discussions to be had as to whether or not Han actually helped him perform the duty himself, by pulling the blade into him. But some people say he did. I don't think that was the case at all.
That's what Brian says. Brian in the chat says that. He said, did Kylo kill Han, or did Han ignite the lightsaber, killing himself for Ben?
Yeah, I don't see Han doing that. I see Harrison Ford doing that because he wanted out of the movies, right? I don't see Han doing that, and I don't see Chewie keeping his distance. How could Chewie not be there as a backup? Okay, something's going to happen here. I'm going to get up closer and help be his backup. Be Han's backup. But.
See, I think Han knew that Kylo was there, and he didn't want Chewie to get hurt by him. I just generally feel like, look, the Force works in mysterious ways, and especially in this movie, Han definitely sort of has maybe sort of a connection to the Force, and I think he was just looking after Chewie. That look, if Chewie was standing right behind Han, Chewie could have got hurt. That's just my opinion.
He would have been killed next easily.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, Dan, what about you? What do you think of the whole scene?
Best scene of the movie.
Think so?
In terms of directing, absolutely. I think when the both of them are literally next to each other, opposite each other, I think this shows you how lighting in films makes such an impact in movies. You see the lighting beautifully done. Half of his face is light and half of it's red. And then as soon as the red encompasses his whole face, that the dark side has won. And that, it's beaten Ben and taken over as Kylo. You can tell that the lighting team were phenomenal on this scene.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this was the perfect way for Han to go. I think this was the right way for him to go. I think it definitely was time for Han to leave the franchise. Because don't get me wrong, Han Solo is probably my favorite character in the whole of Star Wars, apart from Yoda. But you can't have him in every film. You just can't. I mean, it's just, there's only so much, I think. To keep that character special, you don't want an overload of him. So for him to be killed by his own son, not only does that help Kylo's, character, makes him more of a compelling villain, but it also keeps the character of Han Solo intact before Solo, a Star Wars story, completely ruined it. So yeah, it's a great scene. Great scene.
It is. Here's my take on the scene. The scene, you could feel it. It was coming. I knew it was coming. The minute he stepped on the bridge and stepped up to him, I said, I'll bring Melissa up here and she can tell you. I said, he's going to kill him.
Yep.
He's going to kill him. I said,
you can see it from a mile away.
Yeah. I mean,
he can see it from a mile away.
I can't believe it, but he's going to kill him. And for me, Dan, here's my opinion. I don't, not everybody has to die in the movies. There are such things as happy endings. Like Return of the Jedi, when it ended, everybody lived. That was the perfect ending for me. They don't all have to die.
Yeah, but who did die in Return of the Jedi? Who was arguably the most important character of the franchise?
Darth Vader.
Vader.
Right. Well, he had right, but what I'm saying is, I don't know how to word it, but he was ultimately the bad guy. Okay, he was.
We're talking about Jabba the Hutt. Sorry.
or Yoda. Yoda died in Return of the Jedi as well.
Right, but I'm talking about main characters. Yoda wasn't the main character.
No.
He just wasn't. He was a side character.
But did Vader have, his happy ending?
Yes, he did have his happy ending. He became good again before he died. His son redeemed him. He had redemption. Absolutely, he had a happy ending. He got to see his son. I mean, that's just my opinion. Yeah. The fact that they killed Han Solo off, it infuriates me. I don't know. He's one of my favorite characters too. I don't feel like he had to die.
Would you have rather had Han die in Return of the Jedi or Last Jedi?
None. I didn't want him to die at all.
You just would have wanted him to. The thing is, though,
I believe in riding off into the sunset. I don't need to see when he dies. He's going to die
also,
one day.
This isn't their franchise. This isn't their trilogy. Unfortunately, it's not their trilogy.
That's part of my rant. That's my problem. Don't call it the Skywalker trilogy if they're not the main focus.
Which is why the heritage, I believe, will be important in a couple of weeks' time.
All I'm saying is don't tell me it's the Skywalker trilogy and they're not the main focus. If you don't want them to be the main focus, it should.
I think they still have, I still think they have focus on it. I genuinely do, and I think this next episode that was coming out in a couple of weeks will resolve it. And the
Skywalker saga is Princess Leia, Luke Skywalker, and Anakin Skywalker. That's what this whole entire saga is about. Everybody else is just puppets in the story. I'm sorry. That's my opinion. That's the three. It's their story. It's their saga. Everybody else is involved in it, but it's their saga. That's all. I just don't think they should include it. Oh, there goes the dog.
Well, as Walt's not here now, I would like to tentatively disagree. Just because, then you're arguing that the prequels, that's only focusing on Anakin. And that's...
Well, it is.
But it's not just about Anakin in the prequels. It's about... For one, I think Obi-Wan Kenobi is just as important as Anakin.
But the story, all three of those movies are based on him.
But if it wasn't for Obi-Wan Kenobi, we wouldn't have had, or even you could put Padme in there as well, we wouldn't have had the originals in terms of the story.
But it's still his story. It's still his story that they're telling, and how all these other people are included in it. I agree. But it's his story.
Read what Dave just said.
What did he put?
This isn't Lord of the Rings where everyone survives.
But not even in Lord of the Rings, not everybody survives. Boromir dies.
Yeah, but he's not important.
Yes, he is.
No, he's not. Oh, he's not as important as Yoda was in Return of the Jedi.
You haven't read the books, have you?
Yes, I have.
Okay.
That's just my opinion.
No, I'm just kidding. But anyway, so Han Solo's dead. And I've already walked out of the movie. I don't even know what happened afterwards. No, I'm just kidding.
You brought up the issue of redemption. Okay, may I note a few things? Okay, because
what's up, Brandy and Dave? I'm sorry.
Can you really have redemption for Darth Vader, who killed all those little tiny kids and wiped out all those Sand people families and whatever? Especially all the little tiny Padawans.
Well, not just the men, but the women and the children too.
Exactly. If you've done that, I don't know about how much of a redemption value you can give that at the end of the movie, saying, "Okay, he turned out he's a great guy. All right, come over for tea." I'm sorry, but those actions still affect me. And what type of redemption value is there for Kylo if he does turn to the good side in the next movie? If he killed his father, and well, he didn't blow up his mother, that was good, but he still killed his father.
No, he did blow up his mother. She just used the Force to get back inside.
No. He didn't blow up his mother.
That was his wingman.
That was his wingman, wasn't it?
His thumb came off the trigger.
Nah, he wanted her dead.
I'm not so sure about that.
I know. I'm just kidding.
Ground me. Well, yeah, take this.
In
But
long
anyway.
story short, Han needed to die. I'm sorry, he just did. It's not his story. It's not his.
Oh no, it's not his story. I agree 100%. I agree 100%.
Yeah. The good guy in me wanted him to live too. You know,
yeah, me too. I wanted him to live, but I think it was right for him to die.
You're right. It was compelling to what it does for Kylo Ren's story and his character arc. I understand it. I just didn't want him to die, I guess is ultimately what I'm getting. You're right. It's important to the arc of Kylo Ren.
Yep.
Yeah. In that respect,
think about it. If they came to that point and Kylo didn't kill him, that just makes Kylo really weak. Like he's not he's willing to go that far to even kill his own father. He needed to be strong. Otherwise, he's not going to be a strong villain. Right? Mm-hmm. It's like Thanos not clicking his fingers together and wiping out half the universe. If he didn't do that, he wouldn't be as strong as he was. I'm sorry, it's true.
Well, we have no reason for the movies.
Yeah.
That's true.
Did you see Brian's comment? It's like, well, if the Jedi younglings were anything like millennials, I'd slaughter them all.
Thanks, Brian. I guess I'm on his hit list.
I was going to say, I don't know how Dan feels about that one.
Oh, man.
Brian,
don't let this beard phase you, but yeah.
Charlie, we're not millennials. What are we?
We're like X-Men or X...
Generation X, right?
I think so. I don't know. I'm right on the cusp. I was at the last...
Well, you're younger than
last
me.
2 months of 69, so I think I'm an X, Generation X, but...
Yeah, I think we
Does
are.
it matter? I don't know.
Nah, not really.
I'm one of the gray beards now, so...
Yep, me too. Me too. That's why I shaved. Brian, don't worry about it, man. We know you're teasing, buddy. Don't worry. He's funny.
Old.
Yeah. So let's move on. So, and it really was a hard scene to watch to see, At first I'm like, no, he's not going to die. They're going to save him. And then when he fell over the bridge, I'm like, no, he's gone. I was like, you're not coming back from that.
But I think what was good, though, what I thought was really good was Chewie's reaction.
Oh, yeah.
As soon as he died, straight up with the shot on Kylo, and that shot plays up the rest of the screen time of Kylo, where he's hitting his side, which I think is attention to detail, which the prequels would have never thought of.
Yeah.
I thought it was fantastic.
Yeah, it definitely. He reacted the way he should have reacted. But what he should have kept doing was just kept firing on him. Boom, boom, boom. Just keep doing it.
We did blow up the base, didn't he, Chewie?
Yes, he did. He did.
He went from the MVP of Force Awakens and pretty much destroying Starkiller Base to being pork cook in Episode 8.
I know.
And I still ain't got no medal. Man. What up?
That's so funny. All right, so Darth Vader. Harrison Ford is gone. Han Solo has met his demise, and then we finally get to the part where we get the final battle. Now, you're right. Dan hit it right on the nose. They did blow up the area they needed to, and this planet is starting to self-destruct, which is pretty awesome. And then we get to the final battle between, I'm going to say it, Finn, Rey, and Kylo, because Finn is there.
Yeah.
For the beginning of this fight. He's there first, fighting this. What do you guys think of that final scene? Charlie, we'll start with you, buddy.
Oh, man. This came down to the same issue I had in regards to Rey's flying abilities. All of a sudden, she's an ace pilot. Now, all of a sudden, she can go head-to-head with a trained Sith Lord in regards to having the same or skill level with a lightsaber as Kylo Ren does. It's again, to me, it was totally unbelievable. I don't care how well with the Force you are. Everyone needs to be taught swordsmanship, I think, and it's just so much you can be. And then Finn even getting in the mix of things with the lightsaber for a little bit. I just thought it was unbelievable. So I was disappointed a little bit. I can understand second movie maybe, or her having a little bit of training from someone, but come on, someone's not gonna. It lowered the abilities of Kylo down so far for me that it was like that was part of me thinking that Kylo's just a whiny nobody. But that's my opinion.
Okay. Let's add Alina, paper, scissors, and
Controversial,
vacations
I know.
on my welcome in. Dan, what about you, buddy?
I'm the opposite. No surprise. Yes, we know. Well, let's talk about Finn first. I think Finn really steps up in this movie in terms of all aspects. We know that he's going to be defeated by Kylo because he's not the chosen one. He's not a stormtrooper who becomes a Jedi. It's just not going to happen. So we know he's not going to come out of it. He gets properly beaten down. Spine pretty much cut in half, which I think was a great sort of way to take him out of the equation. Very, very good. I don't have an issue with Rey grabbing the lightsaber. I don't have an issue with her, being strong with the Force. I that doesn't bother me, and I don't have a sort of an issue with her combat skill, because if you really look at her combat skill, she's not really that skilled with the lightsaber. She's almost doing, actually, which may be affiliated with something called heritage in the next movie. She does a lot of this. She's kind of stabbing at Kylo. She's using two hands and going like, huh, right? Now, let me have a think. What other Star Wars character had a really bad technique who went like this? Uh-huh.
Who?
Well, look what Charlie's holding up.
That's what I said to Charlie earlier.
In episode 3.
Let me just say this. Thank you very much to Lena, paper, scissors, and vacations on my $5 super chat. Says, Happy Thanksgiving.
Wait. Can I do it? Can I do the... Because I know it's your stream, but we're involved. It's the $5 super chat.
Thank you, Lena, so much. That's very generous. Everybody, please thank Lena in the chat. I appreciate it. I need one of those.
But no, I think her lack of fighting skill does sort of remind me a lot of Palpatine, which comes back to that inheritance, and I generally feel there's some sort of connection between them two, especially with her lack of fighting skill.
I said the same thing.
Kylo being defeated, or almost like a stalemate, was, I think, I agree with Charlie that I don't think he should have lost or drawn. I think he should have won, but barely. So I don't think he was expecting it.
Okay.
Or it almost it could have been more like, I'm going to even say this. This should have been a Qui-Gon Jinn, Darth Maul, Tatooine style fight, but not as well choreographed. She should have been as fighting in that kind of way that she was, but narrowly escaped by jumping onto the Falcon, escaping Kylo. And making Kylo retain that strong aspect.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my nitpick. I would have preferred that, but I don't have a big issue with this scene as much as, say, Charlie does.
Okay. Well, I think the scene's done really well. I think the cinematography behind it, the directing's done really
it's fantastic.
Well. I think that the actual choreography is fantastic. My issue is this. Charlie hit it right on the head. We have no idea of what her training is. They've never mentioned it. I mean, even Luke, we see him on the Millennium Falcon being trained by Obi-Wan. He has to go see Yoda to train. He never just has it. And even when Luke goes up against Darth Vader, he gets his butt kicked in Empire. Darth Vader beats him. I mean, he does a couple things here and there, okay, but Vader beats him and beats him bad. And I think there's a point to that. Is we have to see her train at some point to show that she's learning, because talk about heritage and having force. Nobody has the better heritage than Luke Skywalker, and even he had to learn. I mean, that's why they had the Jedi temples. Everybody had to learn. Even if you were one with the Force, you had to learn. They never go into that with her. And for me, it diminishes the importance of the scene because she does hold her own so well. Maybe she's just the greatest Jedi ever. Maybe that's what we're ultimately getting at. Maybe she is better than all of them, and that's why she doesn't need the training. I don't know. But it did take away from it for me, because otherwise the scene itself is fantastic. I mean, the actual lightsaber battle is awesome. I mean, they do such a good job with it. He directs it so well, and the choreography and everything being destroyed around them. It's really cool. I love that part of it. And you're right. And you hit on Finn. Finn gets his butt kicked, and he should. That was done right. Kylo Ren takes care of him, and you're out of here. And that's right. That was done really, really well. I enjoyed the scene, and I like, again, it ends with, they do get off there. And do we ever see how Kylo actually got off before it destroyed? How did they get off the planet?
Snoke told Hux to go pick him up and bring him to.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Okay. Yeah, that's what. Okay, I couldn't remember. Okay.
So I would have thought the opposite in regards to fighting ability of Finn and Rey, because you would think there would be some type of hand-to-hand combat training as a stormtrooper, right? For Finn.
Oh yeah.
At some point, he would have been a little bit better. I can understand him doing a little bit better. I just lose it when it comes to.
As we've proven with Star Wars, stormtroopers are terrible shots, so I can't imagine their fighting skill is any better.
That's probably true. Oh. And then Han's gone. They're off there, and then finally they do get the piece to find out where Luke is, and we finally get to see R2-D2 throughout the entire movie. We finally see him for 10 seconds. Which was really upsetting to me. I love R2-D2. I think he's probably my favorite droid. But he's in it, and then we finally, Rey, Chewie, they leave, and they go off to the island. And you see her ascend the island to go up, and the music's playing in the background as she's walking up. And that's when you see somebody standing at the top, and he turns around, and it's Luke, and she puts the lightsaber out, and that's the movie. Yep, just like that. You got it. So,
but not with a Sharpie, though.
And then he spends 10 minutes going.
So, talk to me. We're going to start with Dan on this one.
I'm just gonna give my summary as well, because I need to head out as It's very late because I've got work in the morning.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for getting in here.
No, please. No, I apologize for being late, but for me, I don't have an issue with Luke not being in the movie. Not once did anybody ever advertise Luke to be in this movie. He wasn't on the posters. He didn't do any press tours. There was absolutely nothing involved with Luke, so I didn't have my hopes up. So I didn't go into this movie disappointed if I didn't see Luke, because it's a Star Wars. Everyone knows if Han and Leia and everyone is going to turn up. Where is Luke? Luke wasn't on the poster. Luke wasn't doing any press. Even Mark Hamill was very, very quiet about it all. So that's why I didn't expect him to be in the movie, especially more than 2 minutes.
You really didn't expect him to be in the movie.
I being full on honest.
Right hand raised.
Right, I will cross everything. I
think you're in the minority there.
I completely know that. I completely understand that. Obviously, I wanted him to be in the movie, but I feel like this is how I felt during that time. You had Han come back. You had Princess Leia come back. I feel like if we had everybody, including Luke, even including someone like Lando, all come in, it would have been, I feel, too much. Like, if we had Luke come back, I feel this movie would have got even more bloated with more information about what Luke has been doing between episode 6 and 7. And I feel like him having that last minute on the island perfectly sets up a sequel. It is one of the best cliffhangers, I think, in cinema. And think about what's the other cliffhanger in Star Wars at the time? The Empire Strikes Back. And that is by far, in my opinion, the best Star Wars film there is. So both these movies have had amazing cliffhangers, which have set up another movie. And I think it was good. I don't think we needed a huge amount of Luke. That's just my personal opinion. And look, don't get me wrong, as a child, and even now, Luke is still it's in my top 3 favorite characters of all time in any movie. But I just don't feel we needed him in this movie. I just think it would have been too much. In terms of sorry,
where's it rank for you?
So in terms of ranking, I go back and forth. It's either 3rd or 4th for me. Empire and A New Hope are 1 and 2, and then I can't decide between Return of the Jedi or this movie.
Okay.
I came out of this movie and I loved it so much. I saw it the next day. Obviously there are issues with this movie, being that it's a lot like A New Hope. But I don't think that's a bad thing. I really don't think that's a bad thing. We want it to feel like a Star Wars movie. Yes, it may have gone a bit too far on that, but I don't think it's a bad thing. And you know what? If you look back at every single Star Wars movie, if you look at any movie that has a franchise, they all follow a formula. Like if you look at the Indiana Jones movies, they all followed a specific formula. The only thing that they changed up was in the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. They tried to do something different. Look what the prequels did. They did something different. Did it work out? Not so much. So they went back to their roots. They went back to what was safer for them to make a good movie. And that's what I think The Force Awakens does. If it's is it a lot like A New Hope? Yes. But what's your point? Can I just make one other comparison? There is a movie which I think is amazing called Sylvester Stallone, which is Rocky. What came out? That's the 7th movie of the franchise. That's pretty much the most identical movie to its original, Creed. And Creed is a damn good movie. Excuse my language. Is it pretty much identical to Rocky? Is it an amazing movie? Yes. Is it the exact same as the first Rocky movie? Yes. It's still good. And that's my comparison with The Force Awakens and A New Hope. Is it very, very similar? Absolutely. But I still think it deserves to be, definitely in the good to great Star Wars movies. Okay. That's just my personal opinion.
No, that's why we do these.
Exactly. And then as soon as I come off this, I know I'm going to get some shtick. But I just want to say thank you to everybody who joined us today. I want to thank Charlie for joining us. It was such a pleasure having you
for having me.
And Charlie, you and I aren't done just yet, but we're almost done.
And I want to thank Walt for filling in on
absolutely
your channel because I was late coming out of Frozen 2. But I just want to say thank you, a massive thank you to everybody. Next month is Rise of Skywalker. We are going to be doing Last Jedi, hopefully in the first week or two, and then we'll have a review together. It's been a year, dude, and I'm buzzing. I'm absolutely buzzing for it.
No,
I'm gonna say thank you very much. I look forward to seeing everybody really, really soon. And please don't forget to not just subscribe to my channel, but subscribe to my 2 friends right here as well.
You got it, my man.
Thank you.
Gasco Saturday nights. Don't miss it.
Saturday night, 7 p.m. Eastern.
Right. Thanks, Dan.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Dan.
See you all.
All right, buddy.
See
you later. All right, Charlie, we will finish up a little bit with you. I want you to touch on the last scene with Luke a little bit, and then you can give your rankings of where this movie kind of ranks for you out of all the Star Wars movies.
Yeah. I don't know if I'm remembering it differently or not. I thought Mark Hamill was in some of that press stuff for the movie. That's why I was expecting him so much. If I didn't see him in that, any of the press stuff, then I would have been saying what's going on, and everyone I think would have been asking what's going on. But I don't know, maybe I'm remembering it wrong. But
Well,
I
that's how I remembered it as well. Dan is right. They did purposely keep him out of the poster, but he was on the press tour.
Okay. So, but I was expecting him in the movie regardless. I was disappointed, and as the movie went along, I was like, okay, we're not gonna see Han, Leia, and Luke together again up to shenanigans, and that was kind of disappointing, a little bit depressing, saying, okay, but they're all old anyway, so I guess I wasn't too disappointed. But that final scene, with Luke, you knew it was definitely, we knew something was coming. That next movie, Luke was going to be heavily involved. You knew, okay, he's going to be training Rey. He's the new Yoda. You're going to be figuring out why he went and isolated himself for so long, and his thoughts behind it. And you're going to learn some more stuff about all the characters and the storyline. So I was fine with that. At the end, scenery was awesome. The cinematic take on that scene was awesome. I really, really enjoyed the island. It was in Ireland, I think, that was shot.
Yeah, beautiful.
So beautiful. So I really like that. You can see the torment in his face, saying he is almost like he had put that in the past, and he was almost trying to move on, and then all of a sudden, like the Godfather, drags him back in, right? So, but overall, now, if you want to get to rankings, I had, just to give you a little, I had this many pros and this many cons. So, it's very hard for me to give this a 4, that's for sure. To rank it 4th, no. There is, at the bottom of my ranking is, the Clone Wars. And then Phantom Menace probably. I really loved the parts with Darth Maul in it. I love those lightsaber battles between Darth Maul and Obi-Wan, and that saved the movie for me, but the rest of it, I just in the garbage. So it's definitely above those two. I didn't think it didn't leave that bad of aftertaste after seeing it. So it's probably, how many are there? 10?
Yep.
So it's probably around 6 or 7 for me.
Okay.
It's definitely, and I am, being old school, I like, my top is Empire Strikes Back, then New Hope, then Return of the Jedi, and then the rest of them are kind of clumped together,
Right.
Except for the other 2 that I mentioned that are in the trash compactor.
Right. Well, I totally appreciate that. And for me, like I've said, I was highly disappointed Luke Skywalker was not in this movie, period. I'm sorry. But it's the Skywalker saga, and you don't even have him in the movie. I really thought that when Rey and Kylo were fighting and you see the lightsaber fly by Kylo, I thought it was going to go into Luke's hand. I thought Luke was going to be there. I really did. I thought that was going to be him that caught his own lightsaber, and he was going to fight him. Not necessarily to the death, but he was going to fight him and help her get away. That's what I thought. But it's the Skywalker saga, and the main Skywalker isn't even in the movie. I have a problem with that. And they build him to be in the movie. They didn't say how much. Okay, I get that. But they did build him to be in the movie. They said all the originals were coming back. I have a major problem with that.
Do you consider Ben a Skywalker or a Solo?
Ben Kenobi?
Ben Kylo Ren. Ben.
Oh, he is a Solo. He's not a Skywalker. I mean, I guess he's half and half.
Yeah. So
yeah, I mean that's just for me. But the Skywalker saga is Luke's story. Luke, Anakin, and Leia's story. It's not Kylo's story. They could do a story about it. But it's not their story. But that's just me. But I thought the best part of the whole movie was the end when you finally get to see Luke. That was my favorite part of the movie. Isn't that terrible? I'm so old school. But that being said, it does rank 5th for me. I like it better than all the prequels, but I don't like it better than any of the originals, and I like Rogue One better. So it would be 5th on my list. The next one, wow, that's going to be a bad night for me. I did not like the next one at all, but I've already given it away. But that's where it ranks for me. I just wish they had more Luke in this one, and I don't know. Maybe
What's the next one called?
The Last Jedi.
The Last Jedi. Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So there we go, folks. That is our review of The Force Awakens. I want to appreciate everybody that was here tonight. I know it was a kind of a last-minute thing. We didn't put up any kind of reminders or anything. So I want to thank everybody who came out. But most of all, first and foremost, I want to thank our special guest, Charlie from the Dizney Nerd Herders. Charlie, thank you for coming. I hope you had fun tonight. I know it was a couple hours in, but I hope you had a good time.
I had a great time. Thank you for inviting me. As you know, I get a little nervous, especially being on screen with you and Dan, very articulate people, and I'm always having trouble just putting out a full sentence. But I definitely had fun, and thank you for inviting me. I'm learning as I'm going, trying to get used to these movie review type things. I'm usually just blabbering on, But,
well, I highly appreciate you coming on. I'm honored that you said yes, and I think your channel is a very underrated channel, and I still highly recommend it. Everybody go out to the Dizney Nerd Herders channel. Check them out. If one of my mods, again, could put the link to Charlie's channel and Stacy's channel in the chat, I'd appreciate it. Wednesday nights, not quite ready for prime time at 7 p.m. every Wednesday. Charlie's channel does a live stream, and it's a lot of fun. It's great content. Be sure to check those guys out. Charlie, anything else coming up? Anything else you want to add? I know you have the 5 Foolish Mortals on Saturdays, right?
Yeah, that was our first show, and again, that was fun. We reviewed Ichabod and Mr. Toad. Adventures. That was some old school Disney there. That was fun reviewing that. It was fun watching it. I watched it a couple times actually, just because I was taking notes a little bit on one, and then they were very easy to watch, even 2 times within like 3 or 4 days. Easy watching. It's prime Disney, everything that you would expect in old-fashioned Disney animation, Disney music, Disney storytelling. I would highly suggest anyone who has Disney Plus go search it. You find it easier on the search engine.
Yeah, I saw it.
It has it by decade. I think it's like the last one on the 40s, I think. So I think it came out in 49, but definitely worth seeing.
I agree 100%. I agree. Nope. But I'm glad you came on, man. I hope you had a good time for sure, and we'll definitely have you back on. And as for Dan, you guys know Dan very well. Dan's fantastic. He's one of our partner channels, him and Steve's World. Be sure to check both those guys out. And, of course, for Melissa and I, as everybody knows, our Thursday streams have come to an end. Disney Talk Thursdays have come to an end, and we did our last one last Thursday. And our Mouse Madness Tuesday Thursdays will be coming to an end for a while. Our Tuesday night Mouse Madness streams this coming Tuesday will be our last one as well. But we will be back in the new year. We're taking December off.
Awesome.
We'll be back in the new year with a whole new show, a whole new background. Hopefully, we're looking to do a whole new content to keep it fresh for you guys. And then, so I appreciate all the support. And Vlogmas is coming for us. Are you doing Vlogmas, Charlie?
No, we do pretty much. We're almost there with daily videos, anyways. So something we did it daily for like over a year and a half. And nobody really noticed. So we cut down a little bit, but we do like probably 4 or 5 a week. So we're almost
I love them. I think they're great. I see them all the time. Be sure to check out Charlie's channel. And then for us, we are doing Vlogmas. I've got most of them already pre-recorded. We're ready to go, man.
Awesome.
But, yeah, we're going to have a good time with it. So we will be back for Vlogmas, everybody. So check out our daily Vlogmas vlogs. They're all Christmas-centric, all Christmas-related vlogs. So they're going to be a lot of fun. So,
and thank you again for having me. And anyone who hasn't subscribed and liked, please do so. Hello.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you very much. And to everybody in the chat, like I always say, you have choices of what you do on your Sunday or whatever day of the week it is. And the fact that you would take the time out of your day to come here to listen to us talk, it means a lot. It definitely does. Choice is something you have, and you chose to be here. And we are, I'm sure I can speak for Charlie and Dan to say we are honored that you would take the time to be here with us today. And we definitely appreciate it. And thank you to everyone who came in today. And if anybody's watching on the replay, thank you as well. And until next time, take care of yourselves and each other, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.